Kwanzaa celebrations have been going on at the Center for Positive Thought,
Okay.
at the Watu Center on Jefferson Avenue, and at the African American Cultural Center. What we did from Harambe Books, we invited all of these representatives from our cultural organizations to come together to form a committee so that we could do Kwanzaa more than one night. For example, the center might do one night, and then African Culture Center was doing a night. So we decided, why don't we have a committee where we could do Kwanzaa at least 6 nights a week during that week, and each cultural center would have a night. So we might have started at the Center for Positive Thought on opening night. The second night we went to the African American Cultural Center. And so the committee put together a format that we could use for opening and closing that would stay the same, but the program, each community center would be responsible for the program, hoping that they would highlight their activities that were going on at their center. So when people came in, they could say, well, we offer dance class, we have art classes, we do this, and they could showcase some of the children or adults who were in their program. So that was how part of that committee. I'll let Kenneth talk about
I was going to give a shout out to them community centers, because something needs to be said about them. Because everybody was saying, oh, you're not going to be able to bring these community centers together. Each of them going to want their own night, So what happened was just the opposite happened. They were very receptive. Each of them took one night, and we moved it every night to a different center. So these centers were instrumental in us forming the Kwanzaa Committee, because it wasn't a big struggle, big argument between these centers. All these centers wanted to buy into this idea.
And also, with it, where we would have the meetings together to talk about, some of us would go into schools to explain what Kwanzaa was, because at the time, a lot of people were reluctant to celebrate because they say, oh, no, I'm Christian, I'm Muslim, I can't do Kwanzaa. And we had to explain that Kwanzaa had nothing to do with religion, that it was a cultural holiday. So we did this information with children and with adults, trying to explain, what symbols we use, what the symbols were, how to celebrate. And what I found different and encouraging was some people would not go to different centers. Like if you were in the fruit belt, you get all the kids from the fruit belt. They're going to come to the neighborhood house. But they might not come to the African American Cultural Center. So there was kind of like these boundaries that some of these kids wouldn't cross for a different reason. Could be transportation, or could have been others. But, when we would go to Fruit Belt, you see these kids later, like April and May, and they go, hey, when is Kwanzaa coming? They knew about that night that Kwanzaa was going to be over in the Fruit Belt. Right. And they associated us with Kwanzaa. So they want to know what night you coming back over here to have Kwanzaa.
And a lot of that because when that's the Fruit Belt was feast night.
Yeah.
And they want to know what they can eat. So they want to come back especially for the food.
Oh yeah.
So the committee, we never had officials like president, vice president. Okay. The committees were open. Anybody could join the committee. Some people came, they worked 2 or 3 years, and then they did something else. Some people came and stayed with the committee, for a number of years. Some only came for 1 year, and then they did something else. And we kept adding to the celebration. For example, when Dr. Kofi Lamote and Dr. Mwalimu Shuja came to Buffalo to work at the university, they had been out at East Palo Alto, California during Kwanzaa. So they said, well, out there, whatever Saturday falls in that week of Kwanzaa, we do children's Kwanzaa. So we're like, oh, that's a great idea. So then we added whatever Saturday falls in Kwanzaa, we would do children's Kwanzaa. And the purpose of the children's Kwanzaa was to get the children to do Kwanzaa. We'd have some activity for them, but we wanted them to set things up. They could do the program, the whole bit. We were gonna feed them. We did a couple of hours of children's Kwanzaa. Then that night, of course, we come back and do adult Kwanzaa. So with children's Kwanzaa, I remember one year that they all remembered we took them to roller skating at the rink up on East Ferry Street. So we paid for the tickets and shoes for the kids to just skate, you know. And then we did the Kwanzaa. We set it up. We did the opening ceremony. They skated till they wore themselves out. We fed them, and then they went home. So that was a good memory of them for Kwanzaa. Like how Kwanzaa could be celebrated, how Kwanzaa was a
Right,
good thing.
of course. Well, I'm certainly glad got to officially get the clarity, to finally get the clarity on that it was a Kwanzaa committee.
Right.
That it was. Okay. One of the things I got this one question. I can remember, let me see, when I first started coming to the Kwanzaa celebrations, I want to say that it had to have been 1995, I want to say that I actually started coming to the Kwanzaa celebration, because I came back to Buffalo from college in the 93, early 1994. So it would be around 95 that was my first Kwanzaa celebration. And the one thing that always stood out to me, the moment I walked in, the first thing I saw were those beautiful 7 banners. Could you tell our audience the story behind those banners and how they were made?
Those banners, you want to say?
No, I'm just gonna give Amy Cooper a big shout out for that.
Yeah,
because them were her banners and her idea how to do them. And she not only did them once, but then she redid them with polls to make them look even better.
right.
So them banners really give the credit to Enid Cooper for that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Enid, without any compensation, decided that would be her contribution to Kwanzaa. And so she made these large banners and provided us with the poles to put it up. And of course, as a committee, each year we were responsible to get there early, set up those banners, set up the kanaras and everything. So it was a community event. And I want to say too, the first Kanara we were using was a large Kanara that was about 5 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
And that Kanara had been brought to us to use by Dr. Molifi Asante.
Yes.
I think he had gotten a Kanara from Haiti. It was a wooden Kanara that came in 2 pieces. We had to set it up. And after a while, of course, it became unstable, and we were not able to use the large Kanara. And so Bill Cooper's son, not Joel, but oh my goodness, I'm bad with names. Anyway, the son of Bill Cooper, we said, oh, we can't use a Kanara. We didn't want to use a little Yancey, exactly, Yancey Cooper. Yancey said, oh, I'll make you a Kanara. So the Kanara that's being used now at the community celebrations, Yancey Cooper made it for the Kwanzaa committee, and it's a large Kanara that's kind of like in a triangle, and he made that to be used by the committee.
Okay. Nowadays, to this day, Kwanzaa has been a very, like Juneteenth, is a very anticipated event in the Buffalo community. And you also, the committee, as we just talked about, still works to this day to present Kwanzaa activities. I'm not sure. Are you still working with the committee, or have you kind of passed the torch officially to the next generation, or are you more of a provide a mentorship to?
Go
No,
ahead.
the Kwanzaa Committee, the chairmanship of the committee has gone through about 3 or 4 different chairmen now since
Okay.
us. We have passed it down from our stuff. The main thing we want to do is make sure it stayed alive. In other words, we didn't want this just because Kenneth and Sharon Holley left that it
Right.
would die. We wanted to pass it on and make Kwanzaa still be alive in Buffalo.
And so there have been a lot of young committee chairpersons. In fact, our daughter Makeda, she was a
Yes.
chairperson one year. Sabria Smith, Karima's daughter, she was chairperson one year. And there have been some younger chair people, and they've done some different things, which is good, because they have
Right.
different ideas than from what we had. But they have tried to keep it going. I want to say one of the things that we did to try to introduce Kwanzaa to the young group. When we started, most of us were young parents, so we had young kids. So we needed to get all the kids involved in what we were doing. So we called them the Children of Africa.
Okay.
That was all these kids, Guinea Mills kids, Esau Step, and all of their children, Balala Kara, and all her kids. So they were like the children of Africa. They were responsible for singing the chant at the beginning and setting the table and doing special programs. And I often tease them now because most of them in their 40s. I was like, you all should get back together and do something. They look at me out of one eye like, are you kidding me?
They grew up with it, so
They have kids now.
Yeah, but
make their kids work.
to make them up that though, the strange thing is though, and no matter where they live in the country, they all want to come back for Kwanzaa.
Yeah,
They all look forward to coming back to Buffalo. They all say the same thing. We can't find this no place else. So we come back to Kwanzaa because remember how Kwanzaa was growing up.
right,
So no matter what, yeah, I can see them coming to Kwanzaa every year in Buffalo, New York.
right. And the other thing I'd say about that is when we first invited Dr. Malana Karenga, the creator of Kwanzaa, to come, and as most people know, he came to Buffalo almost every year.
I was about
Dur-
to mention that. That was about to be my next thing
yeah,
I was going to
during
say.
Kwanzaa, which is very difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
because this man had requests to be all over the country and
And he
sometimes
comes to
out of the
Buffalo
country.
every year.
He was coming to Buffalo, and he was asked once, why did he come to Buffalo? And he said he felt the love of the people when he came to Buffalo during Kwanzaa, that he felt that love, that community spirit, and that's why he looked forward, to coming to Buffalo. So we were very lucky in the fact that he would make time out of his schedule to travel during the week of Kwanzaa to come to Buffalo. And I dare say, anybody who had a chance to hear the creator of Kwanzaa speak on Kwanzaa, might not realize it now, but that's a historic event that you can say because Kwanzaa is relatively a new holiday, 1966, so it's not that old. So but you can say that yes, I attended a Kwanzaa celebration and heard the creator of Kwanzaa speak. So it's almost like you heard it from the mouth of the person who invented it, and you got a chance to ask him questions about the things that he invented. And I always thought that was so historic for Buffalo, for putting Buffalo on the map for Kwanzaa.